Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap Up. Joe Samaniego here, along with Kobe Lambert from the podium finish, Adam Lemeries, and Ben Schneider. We want to give a big special thank you to our Patreon subscribers, Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin, for keeping us on the air all season long. And we're definitely excited because the season might be wrapping up for a lot of championship series. But we'll still keep going because we have Formula One, we got MotoGP, World Rally Championship, and the grid ranking. And speaking about championship, we got to start off with the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. And just as you saw in our intro, Chase Elliott was there, but there's a new driver that's going to be in that intro next year.
Yes, NASCAR wrapping up their season. Well, we got a month to go here, races to cover at GRIDnet, where we saw a packed house of fans for the Phoenix Championship race, the second time that Arizona track has hosted the season finale. The fans were definitely treated to some great race, and as we saw in stage one, five drivers fighting for the lead in the end. The record books will show Kyle Larson winning his 10th race of the year, becoming the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion. But it was the number 5 pit crew that put Larson in position to get the job done. An 11.8 stop versus a 12.1 from Hamlin and a 13.0 for Elliott. One of the fastest stops of the season. A perfect way to end the 5 lug nut era. If David Starr didn't lose that brake rotor to bring out that caution, a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota would have likely taken home the championship. How clutch was the number 5 pit crew, and what are your thoughts on the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money, Kyle Larson?
Well, it was more clutch than you could possibly ask for. I think it was the second fastest pit stop of the season, and I got to say, when we started following you, Kobe, you and I around the same era, 2006, 2007, 14, 15 seconds was, I think, considered a pretty good pit stop. It wasn't unusual to see 16, 17, 18-second stops, particularly from some of the teams that maybe didn't have the budget or the funding, to put in training their pit crews and everything that some of the top teams had. And that was an era when you had 7 pit crew members going over the wall. And as pit stops have evolved, and now you only have 5 crew members allowed over the wall to do those kinds of things, to see teams be able to adapt and still get down all the way into sub 12-second pit stops is absolutely incredible. And I got to say, there's a lot of things that I would fix in terms of, what I think is ailing NASCAR right now. Going to a single lug nut is certainly not the hill that I'm going to die on, but it is an art that I think we ought to have appreciated. And, we are still going to see in ARCA and trucks and Xfinity for the foreseeable future, at least. But, in terms of a Cup Series, it's certainly going to be a new era with the next gen car. And Kyle Larson could not have asked for a better gift from his pit crew to put him in the position needed to regain that track position and win the championship. And, in terms of my general thoughts on Larson, it was very satisfying to me to see the driver that I think was undisputably the best over the course of the entire season walk away with a championship. I know Denny Hamlin gave him a run for his money for the regular season title and had a couple wins, but Larson certainly pulled away there at the end, and under any sort of format, I think was certainly the most deserving of a championship. And no disrespect at all to Ben Rhodes or Daniel Hemrick, totally deserving, did what they had to do in this era and this format that they were given. But after seeing John Hunter Nemechek the year he had, Austin Cindric the year he had, not be able to close the deal Friday night and last night respectively, certainly very, very satisfying to see Kyle Larson able to wrap up dominating season with a championship, and totally deserved. And got to give my congratulations to him and the entire Hendrick team. And I've got a feeling it won't be the last, because Larson certainly put the NASCAR world on notice this year.
Yeah, it's called the last time the number 5 won the NASCAR Cup Championship. It was 1996 with Terry Labonte. So the number 5 really hasn't had much of a presence in the championship. But Kyle Larson this year, this will go down as one of the greatest NASCAR seasons in history, especially what Kyle Larson did. As many of you know, I've been watching NASCAR racing for a long, long time. And this will be a year that I won't forget. Overall, there was so much history in NASCAR this year. We saw Michael McDowell win the Daytona 500 in February. We saw Bubba Wallace winning at Talladega after everything he went through there at that same track last year. We saw new champions evolve, but overall, Kyle Larson I believe the last time someone won 10 races in the championship was Jimmy Johnson in 2008. So I don't believe this is the first championship that Kyle Larson and crew chief Cliff Daniels will win together. I believe we could 2007. Thank you, Ben. All in all, congratulations to Kyle Larson, Cliff Daniels, and the entire number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet team. That was an incredible season and one fans won't forget for a long, long time to come.
Once fans won't forget, I know for Kyle Larson's competitors, they might want to forget that because now they're all asking the question, how do we catch up to not just Kyle Larson, but Hendrick Motorsports? Kyle Larson, 10 wins. Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, multiple wins. And William Byron, Rudy Fugle, I think they're on the cusp of having multiple wins next year. That 5 pit crew all year long, super strong to have that big of a pit stop, the last one of the year. They're really, I feel, what gave Kyle Larson the championship. Yes, the caution from the brake rotor, if that didn't come out, would be a different story. But in racing, mechanical failures, debris on the track, you have a caution flag, and that's when the pit stop came in, and that pit crew gave Kyle Larson the opportunity to put himself, the car, in the front row, in Kyle Larson in the lane he wanted, and to go out there and get the win. I just think it's phenomenal considering all year long it's been Kyle Larson going out there winning race after race after race. For the pit crew to come in and to help him get the championship, I think it really shows how this is such a team sport. If that pit crew did not deliver that fast of a pit stop, he may have been in 4th place and we'd be having a different story. But for Kyle Larson, all year long, 10 wins, so many playoff wins, 5 playoff wins, and it all come down to the final pit stop. This format made it a really intense race, and for Kyle Larson to say this was one of the intense races he ever been in, I think it really says something on how much he appreciates this championship, especially after last year.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we can definitely say the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season was the year of Kyle Larson and that pit stop. It couldn't have happened at the most perfect time for him to gain the track position, because if it wasn't for that caution that with the brake rotor debris on the racetrack, I have a feeling it would have been Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. walking away with the championship. Kyle Larson's car seemed to be fading. His crew got him that track position. He was able to not fall victim to the pressure there at the end, and able to capitalize and get Mr. Rick Hendrick another NASCAR Cup Series championship. And like you were saying earlier, I think Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels, it definitely won't be their last championship together. I know with this current playoff system where it comes down to the final race, it'll be hard to do anything like what we've seen Jimmy Johnson do, win 5 championships in a row, 7 in total. But it would not surprise me if we see Kyle Larson win multiple NASCAR Cup Series championships before he ends his racing career. And I know with Larson winning the championship now, there was some talk on Twitter. Some people saying that since Larson won the championship, Rick Hendrick should let Larson enter next year's Indianapolis 500. And I bet if that happens, that is going to be definitely an even greater spectacle than what the event is already is, because Kyle Larson, a lot of people consider him the best race car driver in North America because of how well he does in multiple disciplines, whether it's in dirt, sprint cars, midgets, NASCAR stock cars. Kyle Larson always gets the job done. And I think it would be really great for motorsports in general if we see Kyle Larson at the Speedway on the month of May doing the double, just like Kurt Busch did quite a few years ago. And Larson said the pressure entering the day, there was a lot of it, and the atmosphere was nothing like he'd ever experienced before. And on the NBC Sports broadcast, they actually said that Kyle Larson, we hear about him winning all these races and all of that, but never really in contention to bring home a season long championship. Just going out there, winning a whole bunch of races, and he was finally able to get it. As we saw the emotions at the end, wiping tears out of his eyes, and it was definitely a great atmosphere, that sold out crowd, the intense competition, trying to stay ahead of Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott. 18 race wins between the 4, and they're also the top 4 in the NASCAR grid rating. Was this the best championship race in the current playoff era because the most dominant driver won.
Yeah, and if you guys didn't watch the previous show on NBC Sports, legendary, one of the greatest auto racing drivers ever, Mario Andretti, gave a special message to Kyle Larson, and that was pretty cool to see. This championship race today had everything. It had dramatic pit stops all day long. It had intense racing between all four drivers battling. You had Kyle Larson out front, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Chase Elliott on. It was a race that fans will not forget for a long, long time to come. And everything that Kyle Larson has accomplished this year, not only winning the NASCAR Cup Championship, but he also won the legendary Knoxville National Sprint Car Race, the Kings Royal Sprint Car Race. He's won. I believe I saw something online that he entered 87 races this year and won 30 of them. That's pretty overwhelming and incredible. The entire season Kyle Larson has had. I had friends watching this race in the UK and also in Australia, and I don't think this championship will go down in history as one of the greatest in NASCAR.
It's up there with Truex in 17. The run he went on with Furniture Row, certainly the most dominant driver that year, deserved his championship more than anybody else. But Kyle Larson's team, Joe, I think you were the one saying, this really is a team sport, because he had fallen behind and his pit crew put him in the position that he needed to be in to go ahead and win this championship. And, I thought we saw a very good race today. I think it certainly proved that horsepower can be a good thing in stock car racing. I don't want to get too much on that hill and beat a dead horse there, but I thought we saw a very good race today. I would have liked to maybe seen it go green towards the end. It's the nature of having a playoff system where you've got 36 other cars out there, and unfortunately these things can happen. But don't disrespect to David Starr and his team. They're out there trying the best they can. Unfortunately, they lost a brake rotor, but that shook things up a little bit and gave Larson and his team the opportunity they needed to take. And I thought it was a very good race today. And again, massive congratulations to Larson, the 5 team.
Yes, I thought it was a great race as well. Saw a lot of passing, comers and goers. I thought this race had everything, and in the end, the top driver of the 2021 season, Kyle Larson, ended up bringing home the hardware. And also another point about the pit crew, it just really shows that this is a team sport. You win together, you lose together, and the pit crew, they rose to the occasion when it absolutely mattered the most. I said on Twitter before this pit stop, these pit crews are going to have to bring their A game. They're going to have to send off this 5 lug nut era of NASCAR off on a high note, and that's exactly what they did. They executed the game plan and helped their driver win the championship. So they definitely, I'm sure it's certainly going to be quite a party tonight in the Valley of the Sun, as Adam likes to say. And last year's champion, Chase Elliott, understandably so, looked dejected post-race because it didn't go back-to-back. We remember the moment last year's championship 4 race in Phoenix. Elliott shared that special moment with Jimmy Johnson. Everyone called it the passing of the torch, with Elliott being the new top driver at HMS. Now Kyle Larson goes out, dominated the entire season in spectacular fashion, outperforming Elliott for most of the year. So here's the question. Is Kyle Larson the top driver at Hendrick Motorsports?
Well, let's see. He's got a championship. Elliott's just coming off of a championship as well. Elliott came into the Cup Series in 16, Larson in 14, so they're about level on terms of experience. I guess Bowman came in around that time as well. We forget, he did a couple years in BK and Tommy Baldwin equipment before he came over to Hendrick. But they're certainly the 2 senior drivers there with William Byron there as well. I think it's a little early to suggest one has the true edge over the other just because we don't have a great sample size yet. They're level on championships now with one apiece. I think we can maybe make that argument a couple of years down the road, assuming they both stay at Hendrick. But, in terms of making comparisons to perhaps the Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson era, I think Hendrick Motorsports is certainly set for a long time if they can keep both Larson and Elliott on their team, because they've certainly got two very talented drivers who I think are going to win a handful more championships before their careers are over.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you, Ben. We all remember the Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson era at Hendrick Motorsports, and now I think it's the Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott era over at Hendrick Motorsports. Is Kyle Larson the top driver now? That's hard to say. Give it about another 5 years, and we'll see what happens. Like you were mentioning, Ben, Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott are now tied with one championship apiece. They came in around the same time. So to me, it's a tie between Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott as the top drivers at Hendrick Motorsports. And we all cannot forget William Byron and Alex Bowman as well. Hendrick Motorsports is on another planet right now. They have 4 outstanding, talented drivers, and they'll be reckoned with this new next gen car coming in NASCAR in 2022.
Yes, Hendrick Motorsports definitely looking good for the future with their 4 young drivers. And I also agree with you, Ben and Adam, with saying it's probably too soon to suggest that Kyle Larson is the number 1 driver or Chase Elliott is the number 1 driver. Maybe like 5-7 years from now, we'll be able to have that discussion. And looking at Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, I think Larson and Elliott, I think they're definitely going to be championship contenders in NASCAR for years to come. And considering all the momentum William Byron is exiting the 2021 season yet, I think if he can clean up a few things, that he can potentially rise to the occasion and become a serious playoff contender next year, because I really like what I saw from William Byron at the end of the season. And Alex Bowman, I think he has potential if he can get the consistency going, because Alex Bowman has been really inconsistent with his performances. Like some weekends, that 48 car looks strong, and on other weekends, they completely miss the setup and he's out having lunch or something. So, and I also mentioned last week when he won at Martinsville, it seems like Alex Bowman has the most random wins in NASCAR, because it just happens out of nowhere. If Alex Bowman and his team can fix those issues, I think they can also, like William Byron, make a deep run in the playoffs. But all in all, Hendrick Motorsports, they're definitely going to be the team to beat for many years to come.
Many years to come, that'll be the team to beat. When it comes to Formula One, the team to beat right now looks like that is Red Bull Racing. We anticipated a chaotic Turn 1, Lap 1 in the Mexico City Grand Prix, and we saw a 5-car incident in that involved Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda. They were both out of the race. Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, they both got significant damage, had to go into the pits, and they fell to the last 2 positions, were not in contention at all for the rest of the day. And Esteban Ocon, he got squeezed between Schumacher and Tsunoda. He kept going on, but his race was a bit compromised. Up in the front, though, Max Verstappen, he had the lead on the outside around both Mercedes, using that slipstream, and cruised to victory. He is now ahead of Lewis Hamilton by 19 points with only 4 races remaining. And officially, as of right now, Lewis Hamilton is the only driver left in the championship battle. Everyone else is out of contention with just the 4 races left. Kobe, starting with you, do you believe Max Verstappen today looks like he is championship materials with 4 races to go?
Yes, Max Verstappen is definitely championship material. That was a great drive today at the start, going 3 wide around Hamilton, Bottas in turn 1, and basically that was the race right there, because nobody else had a significant shot of getting him for the rest of the race. And I know on these programs we like to say that this driver has one hand on the trophy, but I'm definitely not ready to crown any driver yet, because 19 points, all Max Verstappen has to do is go to Brazil, retire from the race. Lewis Hamilton wins the race, fastest lap. Lewis Hamilton, the momentum swung back his way. So I definitely don't feel like that. I'm ready to say that Max Verstappen has one hand on the championship, but he certainly is looking like championship material because today's drive was definitely worthy of a champion. A great win in Mexico City.
Yeah, well, Kobe, I was going to bring Silverstone up and what happened there. Of course, Lewis going on to win the race, Max retiring on the first lap. That's all it takes right now for the championship to swing back in Lewis's way. So I was very surprised to see how many people were saying, Verstappen seems to have this championship on lockdown. It looks like it's going to take a miracle for Lewis to get back into it. If you want to do simple math here again, 25 points for a race win. If you set the fastest lap and finish in second, you get 19. So that's a 6-point difference. There's 4 races to go. 6 times 4 is 24. And you can see on the screen, Hamilton's only 19 back. So if Lewis goes out and wins each of the last 4 races, which he's done before, you think back to 2016 with the battle with Rosberg. Rosberg just kind of followed him home each of the last 4 races because his gap was even bigger than that. But Hamilton is technically still in control of his own destiny when it comes to the championship fight. And if that's the case, I certainly am not in a position yet to say, Verstappen has one hand on the trophy. You can maybe say it's his to lose at this point. He certainly has the advantage. And if I were trying to pick a situation I'd rather be in right now, obviously I'd rather be in Red Bull's position with Verstappen. But, this season has taught us anything. It's not going to be over until they take the checkered flag at Abu Dhabi, or if somebody has a 27-point lead going into that final race. It's been a close battle all year, and 19 points with 4 rounds to go. I don't think I'm comfortable making a call just yet.
It is amazing. I feel past seasons, if we were starting to talk about a 19-point lead, we're talking about that driver advancing, getting closer and closer to the championship. This year, though, between Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton is so close, the competition is so fierce, they don't give each other an inch on the racetrack. They've collided before. It feels so small, 19 points, because we all know Silverstone, as you mentioned, Ben, coming into that racetrack, lost the lead from 30-plus points to single digits, and then Lewis reclaimed the lead later on. So it's still far from over, but Max Verstappen today looked very much championship material because Coda here, they come out with 2 wins. Coda, we kept talking about it was going to be Lewis Hamilton getting the win. Here, Max Verstappen was in the second row, looked like a disadvantage, but we all know that slipstream, and he used that to get the lead, stay out front after the safety car even, great restart, nobody could touch him at all. Part of that, of course, Mexico City, high altitude, the high speeds, but the big thing, not a lot of passing, even with the strategy. We saw Sergio Perez, he was able to get close to Lewis Hamilton towards the end with much fresher tires, but not close enough. The 2022 package, supposedly we're going to see changes where that dirty air is going to be less of an impact and hopefully closer racing. Considering all the races we've seen this year, was this a reminder of the challenges with this car and how fortunate we are to have such an intense battle for the championship this year?
Yeah, we're not going to know for sure, obviously, until we see the cars on track next year, if these problems are going to be remedied. But yeah, the current car we have in 2021 is certainly by no means perfect. And, I've got to admit, even watching the race today, there were the strategy was intriguing, and the atmosphere from the Mexican fans was simply incredible. It helped to have Sergio up there on the podium and running so well with Red Bull. But it was kind of frustrating to see that he had the charge on Lewis and couldn't quite finish the deal. Just the problems that we've talked about time and time again with this current car, dirty air, all those kinds of things that come up that are admittedly hard problems to fix. We talk about it in NASCAR all the time as well. But I think in terms of this season that we've had, absolutely to answer your question, Joe. We have been very fortunate to be able to witness such a close championship battle. It seems like every single race, people talk about how much they were dreading France, because France historically, Paul Ricard has not given us super exciting races, and yet we got there and we got a close, exciting race there. So, it's been, nonstop, race after race, this entire season. There's been another great chapter added to this fantastic season. And, we really have to appreciate The saying, I think, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days, and as they're actually playing out, that's what we're in right now. We are in the good old days. We're going to look back on this season as something truly special. And, 4 races left. We have to appreciate that as it comes to a close.
1990, Alain Prost versus Ayrton Senna. One of the greatest F1 battles in history. And now here we are, 2021. Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen. People still talk about the 1990 F1 season, and we all know what happened at Suzuka, Japan, between Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. I think down the road, we'll be talking about this championship as well between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. All season long, those two drivers have been battling, like you said, Ben, race after race after race. And I believe there was 374,000 people there today in Mexico. So you take that and you combine it with the 400,000 fans that were in Austin, Texas. Over these last 2 weeks, we've seen close to 1 million people, watching these races at these two tracks. It's been a season that no motorsports fan will forget for a long time to come. And with this year being the last year of the current car, going into 2022 with the new car that Formula One is bringing out, hopefully we will see the same intense battle next year and many years to come.
And one of the things, as you mentioned, the big crowds in Dakota, the big crowds at Mexico City. There's going to be a big crowd in the next one. In Brazil, that's going to be a really exciting race, the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's going to be really exciting because not only do we have a close championship battle for the drivers, the Constructor Championship, Mercedes, they only lead by 1 point over Red Bull. Of course, Bottas, with that spin on the first lap, first corner, no points. Poor guy had to make so many pit stops to get this fastest lap, then the tire nut, all sorts of issues for him. Poor guy just did not have the luck at all. Meanwhile, the double podium for Red Bull, that got them a lot of points, so they're just one behind entering Brazil. And then the other big battle right now, Ferrari. They've gotten ahead of essentially McLaren. So one of the big things with McLaren, they only scored 1 point today because Lando Norris finished 10th, but both Ferraris got 5th place and 6th place. Starting with you, Adam. Could we see both battles in the constructors heat up and intensify, or do you think one of those 4 teams are going to start pulling away with their respective battle?
I think we will see. We always talk about an intense drivers championship, but we can never forget the constructors championship. Mercedes and Red Bull are only separated by 1 point, and then you have the intense battle between Ferrari and McLaren. I think this constructor championship will also go down to the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Like I was just saying, this will go down as one of the greatest Formula One seasons in history. So many battles throughout the field all season long, and I believe next year we could see an intense battle overall between Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna heat up onto the season finale at Abu Dhabi, and that was definitely a tough break for Valtteri Bottas at the very beginning of the Mexican Grand Prix, getting turned around and trying to fight his way back through the field. Definitely really challenging with dirty air being a big issue today. And oh man, I thought that Mercedes was gonna be okay constructors wise, but now Red Bull, they're really turning on the heat of the pressure. McLaren, Ferrari, I think it's going to be neck and neck between those two, and it's going to be really interesting to see which constructor is going to win out.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see which constructor goes out, grabs the championship. Between those 4 teams and those 2 point battle, I don't see any clear favorite. It just seems Brazil, that is a track where All the teams have success there. All of them could be really good potential winners. And of course, weather could always be something in Brazil. One of the oldest circuits in Formula One currently, the Brazilian Grand Prix, is going to be next weekend. We'll be previewing that on Grid Live pre-race, as well as a season finale for MotoGP next weekend. And here is Joshua Bershi was unable to join us today, but here's a recording from him about today's events and a MotoGP update, especially on the condition of Miguel Oliveira.
Hi everyone, sorry I can't be on the show tonight. Our internet has gone off my end as well, so I'm desperately hoping that my data holds together. Here's a quick wrap up then for me about what's happened. We'll start off with Formula One as well. Another great race for Max Verstappen as well. He's now 19 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, the championship. Hamilton was saying in the post-race press conference, it looks almost certain that it's going to go down to the wire. However, personally, I think it's going to be Max Verstappen to clinch the title, maybe as early as Saudi Arabia. 19 points, it's a big deal in Formula One as well. Great day for Sergio Perez as well. His father is absolutely the happiest man in Mexico right now. He's going around everywhere just celebrating like mad. He closed out the Sky F1 show as well, and he was just so happy. You can see images on the side there as well with Ted's notebook on the side. Formula One as well. Tsunoda is okay after jumping up in the air as well, the same as Mick Schumacher as well. They've both left the track early as well. It wasn't exactly great news from what we've seen as well. What happened was at lap 1, turn 1, Tsunoda on the outside with Schumacher on the inside with Esteban Ocon stuck in the middle, a pincer movement. It wasn't at all avoidable. Blame Danny Ricciardo for that. The reason Ricciardo didn't get a penalty for that though is because it was a lap 1, turn 1 incident. Great job though all day. The podium from this weekend was the same as last weekend at the Grand Prix of the Americas as well. Moving on to MotoGP, that was what they call a dead rubber race. However, I found it quite exciting. There's a lot of action to look forward to up and down the field as well, particularly Bagnaia getting his third win of the year as well, getting back up there and having a great advantage over the rest of the field. There was a red flag with 2 laps to go. The race was stopped because of the short amount of time they had, and the rider was still stuck in the middle of the track as well at the top of turn 13. Safety reasons, they had to red flag in. That's why the race was declared a result. Miguel Oliveira did walk away from the accident. All riders were conscious, but Oliveira has been checked into the local hospital just for overnight scans as well to make sure his leg's okay after getting it trapped between the 2 bikes of Lucanoa and his own bike as well. Great job in the NASCAR race as well. Well done to Carl Larson. I was watching on as well and listening on the radio commentary as well. Brilliant radio calls as well with the team. But honestly, congratulations. It was a hard-fought race as well. That's all I've got time for as well. Hopefully that hasn't taken up too much of the show. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you next week.
And you heard that all from Josh Birch, and we definitely encourage you to follow his YouTube channel, link in the video description below. For MotoGP today, it was Pecco Bagnaia taking the win. As he just mentioned, Fabio Quartararo out, first DNF and 9 points finish. However, there was a controversial ending to the Moto3 championship. Had the top 3 talking about safety in the lower divisions. We've already seen 3 riders unfortunately pass away this year, and today this championship was decided by a crash. Many said it was completely avoidable. One rider was devastated and another one was disqualified. Joe, was today's incident another reminder that the safety in Moto3 and Moto2 needs to be addressed immediately?
It does. It does show about the safety that needs to be addressed, because one of the big things is one of these drivers will be in MotoGP next year. So already a lot of people question, is he really set to be in MotoGP after this? And one of the big things I think a lot of folks have seen, especially you watch the replay, from 4th place, making a move, taking out the 2nd place rider in the championship in the race, and essentially taking away any championship battle. So now the championship Moto3 has been decided, and it got a lot of fans and the riders talking. They said this was a racing incident, contact happens. But then there was some saying, no, this is just an irresponsible dive bomb move. Moto3 disqualified that rider from the results because of that. With everything that we've seen this year, especially in motorcycle racing, we have to be talking more about the safety. Yes, they're talking about what to do next year, and I think that's great. But we've got to really look at something. One of the riders, I believe it was either Jack Miller or Juan Mir, suggested maybe we have a super license system similar to the FIA. something so that way we have it where we know it's just the best riders out there in the motorcycles going for each championship. It's going to be something where we'll be following, of course. Kobe and Adam, they do grid tonight. All the weekly news, they'll definitely be talking about that. And of course, Adam, we have to talk about the Supercar Series in Sydney, Australia, in Sydney Motorsports Park, the second weekend back for them. Shane Van Gisbergen, Anton Discopali, and Jamie Whincup all taking the wins in the respective order of the first race all the way to the third night. And definitely race 3, extremely wet conditions, red flag. Definitely was just something where I have not seen a wet race in the dark, in that kind of conditions. Adam, I have to ask, what were your thoughts on that race, considering it was dark? Yes, they had lights, but it's raining, the glare. And what is the Supercars rule on a race that cannot occur due to severe weather? Did they postpone like NASCAR? Or is it just canceled like what we saw essentially Spa Belgium?
Well, for me, race 3, to give the fans some perspective, the weather forecast in Sydney this weekend was calling for rain, and Supercars did declare a wet qualifying session for the last 2 races at Sydney Motorsports Park, and it was the first time since the 2018 Gold Coast season finale that the Supercars had to call a race early. I believe it is that like 75% of the race has to be achieved in order for the race to be official. And also, I got to give a special shout out to race control, especially the person in charge of race control. His name is Tim Schenken. He's actually a former sports car driver, and if you watch a lot of Supercars broadcasts, you hear him you hear him a lot. So it was up to him and his entire team to make the call to stop the race. And actually, I'll say something else. We have 4 straight events at Sydney Motorsports Park, and they're running on the same configuration. The next time Supercars do this, if it is at Sydney Motorsports Park, I believe that they should change up the configuration, and you have 1 weekend each for each configuration. They have 4 configurations of that track. Seeing the Supercars race on the same configuration 4 straight weekends is kind of boring in my part. So hopefully it was the right call for Supercars to stop the race early. Overall, SVG can continue to dominance, and Jamie Whincup won for the first time since Tasmania earlier this season. So, and as we all know, Jamie Whincup is retiring from being a full-time driver this year. And there was a report that Jamie Whincup wants to race at the Bathurst 1000 next year. So we may not be done seeing Mr. 7-time in the Repco Supercars Championship. Even though it could be in a co-driver role, he could still be dominant at the Bathurst 1000 in 2022.
2022 Bathurst 1000. Hopefully it'll be a season where it's a little bit more normal for the supercar season, especially with the pandemic in Australia. Definitely we're going to be following the supercar series, and especially in the grid ranking, because the grid ranking is now down to 3 drivers in the World Championship help. This weekend a lot happened to go down from the 8 before to then 5 and 4, but now 3. So here's a brief recap. Shane Van Gisbergen, the 2 podiums, 3rd race went off, didn't finish in the top 20. However, his performance was good enough to eliminate Lewis Hamilton, who needed Shane to essentially DNF for the entire rest of the season, and Alex Palou, who's of course his season has come to an end. As you take a look at the full grid ranking standing, this morning Fabio Quartararo was his DNF. He fell from 5th all the way down to 7th place, so he is out of contention for the Grid Ranking World Championship. Elfyn Evans in World Rally Championship, he cannot get around Kyle Larson since Kyle Larson has a win. So even if Elfyn Evans does win that final race in Monza, he cannot get around Kyle Larson. So it comes down to Max Verstappen. He got the win, but with Kyle Larson getting that win, he cannot get around Kyle Larson either, even if he wins the rest of the races. So Kyle Larson, his score 1832 is set. Sebastian Ogier, to stay ahead of Kyle Larson, has to win or get 2nd place at Monza, and Shane Van Gisbergen just need 3 more wins to claim the Grid Ranking World Champion. Adam, starting with you, do you believe Shane Van Gisbergen can get 3 more wins, and do you believe Sebastian Ogier can finish 2nd or better in Monza?
Oh, I believe Shane Van Gisbergen can win 3 more races, and Sebastian Ogier winning the season finale at Rally Monza, yeah, it could happen. He's been so dominant all year long in World Rally Comp in the WRC. So I think Shane Van Gisbergen is going to win 3 more races. I'll just give you a little hint. I believe SVG could potentially wrap up the Supercars Championship at the end of all the action at Sydney Motorsports Park before the series heads to Bathurst.
Well, I've got to defer to our great Supercars expert here. Adam certainly knows more about that series than I do. But I tell you, Shane Van Gisbergen has had a phenomenal year. And, you see in the grid ranking, the edge that he has right now. I would think absolutely he's got 3 more wins in him. And, likewise, Sebastian Ogier has had a great year. But I think if I had to make a pick now, it's got to be SVG.
Yeah, I definitely think SVG's gonna get at least 3 more wins this season, as we saw this past weekend. He's definitely beatable in race 3 of the weekend. We saw him go sliding in the wet in those treacherous conditions at night, and I'll give him a free pass there because those conditions were really treacherous, and you got to give him credit for keeping the car off the wall, because when he was sliding off the car, I thought that was going to be a really heavy shunt, and unfortunately got a penalty there at the end of that race. I thought it was going to drop his score actually a lot lower, but he still controls his own destiny. Just 3 more wins, and he can clinch the ranking world championship. As for Sebastian Ogier, I think he's certainly very capable of finishing 2nd or better at Monza. And also for all of our viewers out there who don't know this, Sebastian Ogier actually just finished up a rookie test at the FIA World Endurance Championship season finale in Bahrain. He tested the Toyota Gazoo racing hypercar, because as Sebastian Ogier is going to be taking a step back from World Rally Championship, he wants to start racing in sports cars, and next year he's looking at potentially competing in some LMP2 races with the potential of winning Le Mans overall someday with Toyota.
And that's going to be super exciting to see Sebastian Ogier World Endurance Championship, Toyota Gazoo. And of course, we're going to be very excited for 2022, especially sports car as they start entering the hypercar era. It's going to be really exciting. When it comes to Shane Van Gisbergen, 3 more races at Sydney next weekend and then the following weekend, so 6 races there. Even if he was just to win 1 race each weekend and win the Bathurst 1000, he could claim the Grid Ranking World Championship. And of course, the last weekend for the Grid Ranking is December 11th, 12th, and that is the Formula One season finale at Abu Dhabi. And of course, we're coming close to the end of our show today, so it's time for Adam and our Grid One Shining Moment.
Thank you, Joe. And now it's time. After a crazy and exciting motorsports weekend, we saw action in Supercars, F1, MotoGP, and NASCAR. I'll start with you, Ben. What's your Grid One Shining Moment from this motorsports weekend?
Well, you might have seen the tweet I put out yesterday after the ARCA West finale wrapped up. Reminded, I think, a lot of motorsports fans of the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix. What happened was Jake Drew took the checkered flag, in a position in the championship where he led Jesse Love by 1 point. And it looked for a moment like he was going to be the ARCA West champion for 2021. And on the last lap, Jesse Love was able to find a way around, ironically, Jake Drew's teammate Trevor Huddleston to win his second consecutive championship there. They were actually level on points, Love and Drew were, and it gave Love a tiebreaker, having 2 wins to Drew's 0. So Jesse Love Jr. repeats as champion, and the ARCA West Series puts on a phenomenal show at Phoenix. They had 7 drivers eligible for the championship, a massive car count and entry list, and it was all in all a great finale for that series, and I look forward to seeing what they can do next season. And Jesse Love, I think, is going to be a superstar in the years to come. He's got 2 championships now in the West Series under his belt, and couldn't be more deserving.
For me, the shining moment, I think I have to give that to Sergio Perez. All week long, being in his home country for the Mexico City Grand Prix, go out there, third place. Was close enough to try to get second place, but didn't get there. But still, to get a podium in his home country race, and first time ever to have a driver from Mexico lead the Mexico City Grand Prix. The fans were going crazy there, and of course for all the fans there, huge turnout. May have not been the most thrilling race all year. We've had some wonderful races, but Sergio Perez getting that podium. His father was extremely happy, as Josh said, and I think that is my shining moment.
And before I say my great one shine moment, I wanted to add on a little bit to what Ben said about his with the ARCA West race. Everybody, media fans, we all thought Jake Drew was going to win that championship. Even all of the media, we tweeted that Jake Drew wins the 2021 ARCA West championship. And then all of a sudden, they were like, hold on a moment. And then we saw in the final lap, Jesse Love got that spot, but it's how he got that final spot. It really looked like that Jake Drew's teammate, Trevor Huddleston, got confused, thought the race was over, and he backed out of it. But Jesse Love kept going and got that one spot to win the ARCA championship. And Davey Siegel went up to went up. I believe it was, I can't remember which one of the drivers it was, Jake Drew or Trevor Huddleston, but he went up to one of them, and that's what happened. They said it probably just some miscommunication, but regardless of what happened, that's a really tough way to lose a championship. It's even worse when it's your teammate who cost you the championship right there at the end. And as for my great one shining moment, definitely giving it to the driver to number 5, HendrickCars.com Chevrolet, Kyle Larson. What a driver, what a team, what a season. Hands down the most deserving driver. If you look at all the stats, and like I've been saying the past couple of weeks on here, it would have been really hard to explain years later to look at the dominant season that Kyle Larson had and try to tell somebody like why he did not win the championship. So I definitely think it was a well-deserved effort from the entire number 5 Hendrick Motorsports team, and they'll certainly be in contention to win the championship for many, many years to come, for as long as Kyle is racing in the Cup Series.
All 3 good. But for me, I got to give my one grid one shining moment to Chip Ganassi Racing. It's the last time we'll see a Chip Ganassi Racing car in NASCAR. In the history that team has had, they've had drivers like Sterling Marlin compete there. Jamie McMurray won the Daytona 500 with that team. I believe Chip Ganassi Racing was the first team ever to win the Daytona 500, Indy 500, and Brickyard 400 all in the same season. And also, Juan Pablo Montoya won a NASCAR race at Cedars Point Raceway with Chip Ganassi Racing. Chip has been around the NASCAR industry for a long, long time. It's sad that he won't be with us in NASCAR, but we will see him competing in IndyCar and also in sports car racing. And also, I want to give a special shout out to all of our viewers this year. Thank you for watching us and all the NASCAR coverage that we have provided you. We will be back in 2022 to bring you more intense NASCAR coverage here on Grid Network.
And we highly encourage all the NASCAR viewers as well to be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to all our Grid Network program right here. We got plenty more programs, including Formula One, MotoGP, Grid tonight with the latest news, including NASCAR silly season and the women racing to win every Thursday. And then also definitely one of the big things. We want to give a special thank you to Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin, our Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much for keeping us on the air. We definitely are growing each and every season, and 2022 will be really great. We're looking forward to that. And of course, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we're all over the place. We're definitely encouraging you to check us out, follow us on all the social media platforms, as well as using our referral code at public.com. That'll get you $5 in free stock. Great place to start getting in the stock market, invest in, and use the code GRIDnet to get $5 in free stock. And be sure to visit our good friends on Publix, where you get a 10% discount for being a Grid Network viewer. Link in the video description. And of course, there's also a link to Ben's YouTube channel, Joshua's YouTube channel as well. And then, of course, the Women Racing to Win website, Daniel Zeri. He'll be on the air with me Thursday. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to today's program. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Grid Network. For Ben Schneider, Adam Lemeries, and Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful evening.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.